Good morning, sir.
Morning.
Morning.
So should we have like approximately 100 participants in the meeting, and many of the participants, they have joined through YouTube. So should we
You can start. Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Sure, sir. Okay, good morning, everyone. So we are starting with the webinar today, and the topic of webinar is impact of COVID-19 on the emerging and developing economies. So I'll start with a quote of which you all are aware of, and it is like, it is not the strongest of the species that survives, not the most intelligent. It is the one that is most adaptable to change. The COVID-19 crisis has exposed many people, even in some of the world's richest countries. They live in inadequate housing, without reserves of cash or food, and face difficulties in accessing government assistance. And hence, there is much debate on what is right approach to COVID-19 crisis. Should one do a lockdown, or is the cure worse than the disease? And as we all experience now, every week the world seems to be a different place, and everyone is forced to learn extremely fast. So, what is the impact of COVID-19 pandemic on the developing and emerging economies? It is difficult to assess or make future predictions because much will depend on the spread of disease in the developing countries. Hello, everyone. I welcome you all to the Prestige Institute of Management Gwalior Pharma Club's webinar, and I thank you all for joining today, taking time for this hour. My name is Dr. Tarika Singh, and I'll be your moderator for today. And before we begin, it is a humble request to everyone to keep themselves mute and keep their video off. You can type your queries in the chat box. Meanwhile, the resource person is conducting this session. So today we all are here to connect from far and learn about the very important topic of the time. And this session is designed for you everyone, like for practitioners, for academicians, for students, to understand how this pandemic is affecting the emerging and developing economies, and what policymakers are doing to explore the most efficient and effective interventions to help these nations maintain financing to cope up with the severe drop in the economic activity in the wake of the crisis. Our resource person today, Dr. K.U. Nayak, will discuss the impact of this crisis and various policy initiatives on the functioning and the stability of the financial system which are required in these economies. First, I would like to invite our director, sir, Dr. S.S. Bhakar, for the welcome address and opening remarks. Director, sir, please.
First of all, I welcome today's expert, Professor K.U. Nayak, and the other faculty members who are there, coordinator, and the other faculty members associated with webinar, and all the attendees attending this webinar, either on Zoom or on Facebook or whatever platform you are attending. I welcome you all. As Professor Tarika Singh talked about, pandemic COVID-19 has created an unprecedented situation, not only economic, but even social. Conditions are also unprecedented. But we will be today concentrating only on economic conditions. If you look at the economic problems that the world economy has faced in this decade, or in these 2 decades in this century, the first starting from say 2001 till 2020, 2 recessions have already been seen by world economy. In the first one, after the in 2001-2, and dot-com bubble, that was because of the bubble burst, dot-com bubble burst. So because of that, and the second Lehman Brothers, triggered by Lehman Brothers second recession in 2007 till 2010, 9-10. So these recessions were, but the one that is triggered by COVID-19 is entirely different from these 2. During those recessions, the economy was moving forward, That means economic processes does not cease to be carried out. If you look at the situation in COVID, you find all the economic processes were halted for a period of time across various countries in the world, different periods, but then it was halted, complete halt of all the economic activity. Now, that's an unprecedented situation. It had never happened earlier. So, whatever contractions have taken place in the economies, these are bare numbers. But what is happening on the ground level is what Professor Tarika was hinting at, that people don't have access to there are people who don't have any access to any support that are being provided by governments, and they have no livelihood at all because there's no opportunity to earn livelihood. The situation is really grim. If you look at the figures, what has happened to the world economies in the first quarter of 2020, results are already available. Second quarter, for some countries, the results are there. For the others, the results would be coming. So therefore, I will be talking about first quarter results. I'll be looking at some of them. If you look at economies of France and Italy, their GDP actually contracted by 5.8% vis-a-vis previous month. Within a month, the contraction to GDP was 5.8%. Italy, within a quarter, sorry, 5.8%. Italy, 4.7% contraction in the GDP. Canada, 2.6%. Germany, 2.2%. UK, 2%. USA, 1.2% contraction. Japan, 0.9%. Euro area, 3.8%, and European Union, 3.3%. If you look at OECD countries, combined together, there was a contraction of 0.8%. China had a contraction of 6.8% in that quarter. India actually had 4.5% contraction in the first quarter. Now, what does that indicate? No country is spared. Every single country's economy is a negative in the first quarter. The only positive sign has come from China in the second quarter, wherein their economy has grown beyond by at least more than 11% in the second quarter. That's a positive sign for world economy, that the second largest economy of the world is growing now instead of contracting. But all other economies are still contracting. In the second quarter also, major economies have contracted and further contracting. So you don't know how the growth is going to take place. As soon as this recession, as we call it, or contraction in GDP as we call it, has come because of stoppage of services or activity, manufacturing activity. Now, as soon as these manufacturing activity and services start operations, I'm sure it is going to take lesser time to rebound for world economies than what it took in recession. In recession, the conditions were that demand was not there, and demand was very low. There were services available, the products were available, but the demand was not there. But if you look at in situation created by COVID, demand is there. It is, these services are not available and they can't be consumed. Products also are not available at different places and they can't be consumed. And all the products are not available. So because of the restrictions, the demand is probably piling up. It's a pent-up demand that would probably get released as soon as the products and services will be available. Then that's the positive sign, that positive note that I would like to make, that though the world economies are contracting at a faster rate than any other recession could contract the world economies, but rebound would also be as fast. And with that, I would hand over to Mike to Professor Tarika Singh to take this webinar further, because I don't want to take too much of a time talking on numbers which are pretty bad in any case. So let the resource person talk on these, and Professor Nareka, hand over to you.
Thank you so much, sir. So audience, today we are presenting webinar on the topic of CSR in changing on the topic of the emerging economies. And so I would now request Professor Pooja Jain to come up with the introduction of our guest for the today. And the guest today, as you all know, is Dr. Keyur Nayak. He's the director of Lakshmi Institute of Management, Sadigram. Ma'am, please.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much. I, Pooja Jain, coordinator of this webinar, feel very privileged to introduce our eminent speaker, Dr. Keyur Nayak, of this webinar on impact of COVID-19 on emerging and developing economy. Dr. Keyur Nayak is the director of Lakshmi Institute of Management, Sarigam, Gujarat. He is also a renowned corporate trainer, corporate consultant, coach, mentor, who had presented papers in more than 80 international and national conferences, including IIM Ahmedabad, IIM Kozhikode, MDI Gurgaon, and PIMR Indore. He has also published more than 100 papers in journals and edited books and guided many students for PhD degree. Dr. Nayak has a reviewer at London Journal Press and reviewed international papers of Villanova University, USA, and ABDC listed journals, and also chaired session in the international conference. He has more than 20 years experience in academic and industry and work as a corporate trainer and head is resource person for many training programs such as data analysis through SPSS, AMOS, R, Python Finance for non-finance manager, corporate valuation, communication skill, and soft skill training. His training program have been always rated very high by the participant and appreciated by the company like Industrial Packaging Product Private Limited, Multi-Lighting Control Private Limited, Team India Limited, JK Cement, Lexan Properties Private Limited, High Fab Engineering, Steelite Industry India Limited, as well as educational institute like Gujarat Technical University, Sal Institute of Management Ahmedabad, Hinduja College Mumbai, KES College Mumbai, DAV College Mumbai, HR College Mumbai, and many more. Sir, we are very grateful to hear you. Now, I would like to welcome sir for enlightened our mind with his knowledge and experience. Please, sir.
Thank you so much. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, sir.
First of all, I would like to extend my heartiest thanks to Dr. Bhakar, director of the most prestigious institute of Gwalior. Thankful to Dr. Tarika Singh and thankful to Dr. Pooja Jain. So today's topic is impact of COVID-19 pandemic on developing and emerging economies. So first of all, I would like to say that there are decades where nothing happens and there are weeks where decades happen. This is what I would like to define about COVID-19. Another definition of COVID-19 is that such kind of crisis happens once in a generation and it transformed the world order. So first of all, I would like to talk about some positive impact of COVID-19. So number one, global carbon emissions fall by 8% this year, which is equivalent to what India emits per year, which would be the biggest drop ever recorded in the history. So this is one of the positive environmental impact of COVID-19. That's what I would like to say. The second thing is that the fall in greenhouse gas this year alone is greater than the past 50 years combined. Again, the COVID is in favor of environment sustainability. Another thing is that it took airline industries 64 years to reach 50 million users. Netflix took almost 7 years to reach at 50 million users, but Disney achieved this just in 5 months with the kids under lockdown. And believe me, it took only 1 month for house party applications to reach at 50 million users. So this is the positive impact of COVID-19 on mobile application software. So definitely from these 3 points, we can say that COVID is positive for environment sustainability, and it's very positive for information technology companies, which are providing entertainment to the kids under lockdown. So these are the two positive impacts. Another thing is that 4 billion people, more citizens are now under lockdown than those who have access to internet, broadband, and social media. So they are definitely going to use broadband and internet. The penetration is going to be high. More and more IT companies are upcoming in the market to provide data security, to provide internet and social media services. And the deal of Reliance and Facebook is a big example of that. So COVID-19 is positive for Reliance and Facebook because they have come together and provide internet and broadband to the people across the globe. The second thing is that the US dollar 20 trillion market capitalization has been generated in three sectors. Number one is healthcare, number two, pharmaceutical, and number three, information technology industry. So the investment of 20 trillion US dollar is equivalent to the GDP of US, Europe, and even China plus India. So looking at this investment, which is made in three major sectors across the globe, healthcare, pharmaceutical, and information technology, we can say that there are a lot of job opportunities, there are a lot of income generation opportunities, and there are a lot of startup opportunities in these three sectors. I would like to give one example of a company called Vitavin. It's a nutraceutical company which is available over here in Vapi. And believe me, they have recruited all my MBA students into finance, HR, and marketing because they are into manufacturing of bulk drugs and nutraceutical products. So what happens to that company? They started getting orders from Cipla and Sun Pharma. And Cipla and Sun Pharma, they started getting huge order from US. So this is how pharmaceutical and nutraceutical industries are flourishing nowadays because of COVID-19. So it creates income opportunity, job opportunity, as well as startup opportunity. And another thing which is positive for China, 90% of painkillers and antibiotics on an average have active drug ingredients imported from China. So you can say that there is a small company again in my area, Aarti Drugs. They are manufacturing bulk drugs also like Vitavin. So they have started getting orders from the pharma company of US, China, Italy, Germany. So these are some of the positive sides of the COVID. It is giving boosting to some of the industries. Now, another plus point of China is that for the first time in the history, China is outspending as far as research and development is concerned. China is going to spend almost US dollar 501 billion and US is going to spend 493 billion US dollar. So we can understand that why China is putting a lot of money into research and development because they want to become superpower. It's a trade war between China and US. It's a war between eagle and dragon. That's what I would like to say. So Zoom daily activity users jumps 30 times. So in the months of December, only 10 million users were there on Zoom. And in the month of April, it becomes 300 million in April 2020. Data is being created at the fastest rate ever across the globe. So those companies which are into data analytics, data management, cyber security, and believe me, those MBA colleges, now they have to rethink about their syllabus. We have to have digital marketing, data analytics, machine learning, this kind of subjects into our MBA curriculum if we want to enhance the placement of the MBA college. Across the globe, societies will be safer but less private, with more than 30 countries issuing citizen tracking orders. So what is citizen tracking orders? So all the governments, they are going to hire data analytics people, those who can do the tracking of the citizens of the country. So except South Africa and Middle East, almost all the continents across the globe, they are having now citizen tracking system. So these are all positive impact of the COVID. And from this, we can conclude that pharmaceutical industry healthcare industry, and information technology industry. These three industries are going to get huge premium out of this crisis. So now let us talk something about negative impact of the COVID-19 pandemic, which is very vicious than the positive impact. The number of unemployed Americans now exceed the population of Australia. It means lot of income decrease as far as American citizens are concerned. More US jobs have been wiped out in the last month than were created in the last 10 years. So these are the two major impacts on US. Now let us talk about BRICS countries: Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. So they are the developing and emerging economies, and there is a huge negative impact on BRICS nation. So first of all, as per the report of United Nations on Trade and Development, they projected that due to the pandemic, developing countries excluding China, will lose US 800 billion in terms of export revenue in 2020. Why export revenue is going to be declined? Because logistic and supply chain management across the globe has been stopped. There is no physical activities. All aviation and shipping companies, they have stopped their business. And as a result, $800 billion is, in terms of export revenue, is going to be finished from the hand of developing and emerging economies. So this is the most negative impact we can say. Now these developing and emerging economies, because of their size of their population, per capita income, urbanization rate, and income distribution, these economies do invite a lot of international franchisors, because these economies, they use franchising model as a tool for economic and entrepreneurial development, and they use franchising model for job creation and global integration. But because of this pandemic, the global franchisors, they have started withdrawing their investment from developing and emerging economies. In South Africa, almost 94% of the global franchisors, they have withdrawn their investments. They have stopped activities from South Africa. So now can you imagine the impact on GDP? Number one, impact on job creation in South Africa, and income and impact on the income level of the people of South Africa. So this pandemic is going to hit South Africa very badly as far as global franchisors are concerned. The coronavirus outbreaks also generated a supply and demand crisis. China is a major supplier of electronics, electricals, and automobile parts to all the countries across the globe. And this Taiwan is the major importer of electricals, electronics, and automobile spare parts from China. And now this supply is going to be stopped from China to Taiwan. And that's why the economy of Taiwan is going to be badly impacted as far as GDP, job creation, income level, all vulnerabilities will be there as far as Taiwan is concerned. And China knows this fact very well, and that's why they want to hijack the land of Taiwan. They want to make Taiwan slave as far as their land is concerned, as far as their income is concerned. So this is how pandemic is impacting on Taiwan. Now the another story is that China is exporting all these machineries to world across, but the prices of those commodities or the machineries are falling down. So the revenue part of China will also go down. But those who are important, like Caribbean countries and Latin America, they are going to get all these machineries at a lower rate. So it's helping Caribbean countries and Latin America as far as automobile, electricals, and electronics goods are concerned. So somehow pandemic is impacting badly on some countries and on another country, it is impacting positively. So that's what we need to understand, because the whole world is connected with each other. All the countries across the globe, they are connected with each other in terms of demand and supply of goods and services. Now, 40% of Brazil's workforce, Brazil, I want to talk about Brazil. So 40% of Brazil's workforce is employed in the informal sector. The effect of prolonged quarantines are devastating on Brazil. People have to choose between starvation or going to work and risking their health. Treta Brazil Institute gave their report that 17% of the Brazilian population does not have access to a clean water supply. Since hygiene is one of the most important measures against the spread of the disease, these conditions impose severe limitations on the ability of many people to take preventive actions. The global restaurant dinner business was down by 89% across the globe and likely to go down by 100%. So hotel, tourism and aviation sector, they are going to get very bad hit out of this pandemic world across, not only developing and emerging economies, but even developed nations. Hotel, tourism industries, they are going to shut down their business. I was interacting with one of the person over here in Vapi. He told me that I am running 5-star hotel over here in Daman and my business is not able to generate single rupee from last 4 months. That's what feedback one entrepreneur who is in the tourism industry gave me. Countries that depend on export of commodities, I have already discussed. Now, countries like Costa Rica, Panama, Peru, Uruguay, Paraguay, they are going to get affected as far as retail franchises are concerned. So retail franchisee was the main model they have used for their economic growth. But retail franchises followed by food service franchises, they are withdrawing their business from these countries and they are going to lose their income source. The most significant legacy of COVID-19 could be a reshaping of the world order in manufacturing, sourcing, trade, tariff, sanction, and technology driven by geopolitics. So what is geopolitics? The national boundaries are going to be changed. The lifestyle and value system of the people across the globe is going to be changed. And China wants to take advantage out of it. That's why it wants to acquire the land of Nepal, even Pakistan, or even Taiwan. Geopolitical changes are going to take place. That's what I can see as an expert of this webinar. Another thing, Sao Paulo in Brazil. So the population of Sao Paulo is 21 million people, which is greater than the population of Italy. So the huge impact would be on Brazil because in Sao Paulo, they do not have proper vaccination system, intensive care unit, hospitals and personal protective equipments are very less in Sao Paulo. And the Brazilian GDP, Brazil generate majority part of their GDP from Sao Paulo and Maranhão, two main area of Brazil. And the GDP of Jordan is equivalent to the GDP of Maranhão of Brazil. So can you imagine that almost 50% of GDP will be decreased in Brazil because of the two main area, because they are depending more on only two areas, two regions of their country. So this is a bad news for Brazil. As in some other emerging economies such as Africa, South Asia and Latin America, the capacity of the Brazilian healthcare system to deal with the pandemic is severely limited. The Brazilian population consists mainly of youth adults with a huge incidence of disease such as diabetes, hypertension, obesity, HIV and tuberculosis. And because of that, we were able to see on the news channels that a lot of deaths are taking place in Brazil because the immunity power of the people in the country is very weak, and at the same time medical treatment facility is also very less in Brazil, and as a result a lot of deaths were taking place in Brazil. Okay, now this is all about BRICS nation. Let us talk something about Arab region. Now I would like to talk something about the negative impact of the pandemic on Arab region. Arab stock market has dropped by 23%. In Arab region, where 14.3 million people were already unemployed, the International Labour Organization estimates that 17 million full-time jobs will be lost in Arab regions by second quarter. Young people were already 5 times more likely to be unemployed than adults. So when youth is unemployed in countries like Palestine, Iran, Iraq, then it's really a bad news for the region. Special attention should be given to the needs of the young people in Arab region. Migrant in Arab regions were 40%. Migrant workers were 40% in Arab regions. So they got very hard hit by the pandemic, notably in terms of access to services, job losses, and ability to return back to their original country. Arab region will lose in real GDP $152 trillion, right? Loss in jobs 17 million hours in Arab region. 14 million people were pushed below the poverty line in Arab regions. So these are the some of the statistics of Arab regions. The twin shock of the pandemic and the low oil prices has prompted the International Monetary Fund to lower the ratings of our Arab region. The regional doctor to population ratio in Arab countries were 2 per 1,000 people. It means only 2 doctors were available per 1,000 people, whereas in the global system 4 doctors are available per 1,000 people. So again, we can say that hospital beds, intensive care units, primary healthcare systems, these were lacking, or these are lacking in Arab regions. Foreign direct investment is going to be dropped by 45% in Arab region. And collection of indirect tax loss to Arab region was $20 billion. Now I would like to say that countries like China, Hong Kong, Turkey, Indonesia, and Singapore, again I am telling you, China, Hong Kong, Turkey, Indonesia, and Singapore, they are now considered as high risk company as far as international debt is concerned, because they have grown their international debt from International Monetary Fund and World Bank by 200%. They have doubled their debt. They are borrowing very badly from the IMF. So it's going to be a big question for them in upcoming years, how they will repay their debts. They have to survive their business internally and externally. India, Poland, and Russia, the debt's grown by 75%. So these 3 countries are concerned as far as debt is concerned as low risk countries. Thanks that we are considered as a low risk countries by the research from across the globe. Then Malaysia and Korea, the debts has grown by 110%. So Malaysia and Korea are considered as medium risk countries as far as international debts are concerned. So low risk countries would be able to repay their debts in future, but it's going to be difficult for high risk countries and medium risk countries to repay the debts in future. And there is one best opportunity for China, US, Japan, and Germany, that they are the best manufacturer and exporter of personal protective equipments, and India is nowhere in even top 10 countries as far as manufacturing of personal protective equipments are concerned. So as a result, this Vitamin company in Vapi, they have started manufacturing personal protective equipments. So a lot of startup opportunities are available in India if we will start manufacturing personal protective equipments, because we are not among the top 10 countries across the globe. So this is what I would like to say about the impact of COVID-19 on developing and emerging economies are concerned. It is something like kahin khushi, kahin gum. That's what I would like to say. Every pandemic in history has changed the world. Pandemics are like rivers. They alter national boundaries. They interrupt national alliances. They restructure international political system. There's something about each one of them which is unique, and it goes way beyond the number of dates and causalities. This is what I believe about pandemic. And with this, I end up my session over here, and now I am open for question answer round. Thank you. Dr. Tarika Singh, madam, unmute yourself.
Yeah. To continue the session, ma'am, Tarika ma'am.
Unmute करना पड़ेगा मैडम को. Dr. Tarika ma'am, you unmute yourself, or host can unmute her. So to revive tourism and hotel industry, they need to innovate into their industry, and they have to change the nature of their business. There are a lot of startup opportunities in healthcare, pharmaceutical, and information technology industry. So they have to change their business model, and they should understand the need of the hour, the need of the international market, and transformation into their business model has to be there. And then MSME development to improve our economy. Okay, Usha ji, to improve MSME, they have to think about personal protective equipment, which is the need of the hour. They should start manufacturing things which are related to medical care, and then they can survive in the future. A smart manufacturer understand the markets and produce the products as per the demand of the market. And sometimes it happens that we have to change the nature of our business if we want to sustain, if we want to survive, if we want to grow. Yes, I am taking questions. Yes, I am. As far as Indian economy is concerned, it will not be worsened, but those countries, for example, Maldives and Saint Lucia, 90% of the GDP of Maldives and Saint Lucia is based on hotel and tourism industry. So this kind of economies will move from bad to worse. But countries like India, China, they are going to get up as far as this pandemic is concerned, and Europe will go down, but India, China will come up. China will become superpower by 2025. US will be at number 2 and India will go to number 3. Then comes Germany, Japan, etc. So those who are heavily relying upon tourism and hotel industry, their condition will be very worsened in future. Any next question? Yes, the prospective entrepreneurs will be able to survive if they will establish their business in a right direction as per the demand of the international market. If they will produce the products as per and at a faster rate, then they are definitely going to survive in future. So the entrepreneurs will have to understand the pulse of the market, the products which are in demand in the market. They should manufacture only those products and services and sell across the globe. I have given one example of Vita Win Limited, right? So it's a nutraceutical company. So they are based on Ayurveda. Patanjali was not able to get success in the market, but companies like Vitamin, they are manufacturing nutraceutical products. So the owner is my friend, Mr. Mikul Thakur. He is the director of the company, and he is telling me that he is going to open 3 units of his business. He is expanding his business by 3 times than pre-COVID conditions. So definitely he is getting a lot of foreign orders. He is getting a lot of orders from the India itself. That's why he's expanding the investment in his business. So right product, right service, and definitely entrepreneurs can get success.
Thank you so much, sir. I apologize for the technical glitch. Actually, we all were unable to unmute ourselves. And now I'll continue with the question answer with your due permission.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. The first question, like actually there are questions on YouTube as well and on the chat box too.
Yeah.
So there's one question regarding the Atmanirbhar Bharat policy, the initiative which government has taken. So one of the participants, he has asked like what like Atmanirbhar Bharat initiative of the government, is it going to help the Indian economy?
Initially, this Atmanirbhar Bharat scheme of government of India has given positive signals for the initial cash flow for the small and medium enterprise, for the poor people. They can obtain loan from the commercial banks at a very lower rate. So it is generating initial cash flow for their business. But there is a question for long-term sustainability. So for coming 1 or 2 years, definitely this scheme is going to helpful to all the people across the country. But in a long run, they have to come up with another bailout packages and another schemes so that they can help the country. That's what I believe.
I would like to add to this.
Yes,
sir.
Atmanirbhar is not isolation from the world. Atmanirbhar means connected with the world and producing what the Indian strength is. That means manufacturing what can be manufactured in India and getting things that cannot be done economically in India from outside, and putting focus on developing new technologies so that the country becomes independent in terms of technology. Latest technology, you find that 5G, etc. We were dependent on China basically, and had we used that route, we would have been dependent throughout when we're using that 5G. Now 5G is being developed, all the equipment that would run on 5G are being developed in India. And I'm sure that would help India become technologically competent to manufacture products that would be used in or utilize 5G as for operating. So like that, it's not an isolated example. I'm sure that would develop strength in a longer period. In a shorter period, it required boosting, and therefore government had to give a lot of incentives. But in a longer run, it will be self-sustaining. It cannot run on government largesse for a long period of time. And I'm pretty sure that Indian business is competent enough to develop everything that it borrows from outside at a rate that would be compatible or that would be competitive in the world market. So I'm sure it's going to help.
Absolutely,
and it's going
sir.
to stay.
Yes. So I have one question, like in line with the answer given by you, like whatever emerging economies they are doing or whatever developing economies they are doing, do they need to follow what the developed or rich nations they have done or what they are doing right now?
No, that's not right, because see, in developed countries, the principle is that you consume more so that more can be manufactured and the demand grows and the industry flourishes. Now, that model is not the right model. I mean, model for developing countries. You must concentrate on developing products and services that are in demand and that would help or that would improve the living standards of people, rather than manufacturing products and ensuring that those products are consumed by people, whether they need them or they don't need them, and just to create artificial demand. In all developed countries, you find majority of a large number of products and services, the demand was artificially jacked up. Now, that's not the way the developing countries must develop. They must focus on the areas that need development, and need-based development should take place.
Right, sir. Thank you, sir. I would like to now take up one question from the YouTube. Like one of our participants has asked, like impact of COVID-19, it may be bane for some or boon for some. So don't you think COVID-19 pandemic has brought India and USA close to each other? And it looks like more than 1,000 US companies out of China now. So India is luring US here to come up with the business prospects. Nayak sir.
Well,
Yes, sir,
let me look at it first. That there are a large number of companies that exist in China because of the decisions being taken by government of America and other developed countries, Europe and Australia, etc., Canada. But then, whether these companies will set up their facilities in India or they will set up their facilities in other countries is a moot point right now, because it is not essential that they will all head towards India. In fact, the initial surge has been to Indonesia. In this initial movement of these companies have been majorly to Indonesia and some other countries, smaller countries. So India has to actually liberalize the labor laws that have been to a certain extent, but more liberalization is needed there, and bureaucratic circles have to be loosened. Unless India does that, India would keep hoping that these companies will come to India, but majority of them will not set shop in India. So there is an opportunity, but that opportunity has to be grabbed by both the hands. The government initiative and the organizations that are already operating in India, Indian organizations, they need to collaborate and get these organizations in India through collaboration. So both government and private organizations have to work together to ensure that majority of these organizations set their manufacturing facilities or service facilities in India.
Absolutely, sir. So Nayak sir, I have a question for you, and it is like from the participants. The question goes like, what are is if the pandemic continues for a longer duration of time, like if it goes for more than 1 year, 2 years, what are going to be longer term impacts of the same on the developing economies?
Number one, reduce investment. Number 2, reduce production. Number 3, job loss, and more people will go below poverty line. This is what is going to happen if it will continue for a longer duration. But at the same time, if those countries who will understand the business model of the world economy, for example, we have two major pharma company in Vapi, Sun Pharma and Cipla, and they are borrowing raw material from almost 500 bulk drug manufacturers. Now those 500 bulk drug manufacturers will get benefit out of this crisis because they are selling their raw materials to Cipla and Sun Pharma. Cipla and Sun Pharma, they are getting huge orders from Europe and US. So this is how this crisis is going to boost up the pharmaceutical industry. At the same time, if the crisis will continue forever, lot of people will do their business online using various technology. So it's going to boost the IT industry also. Companies like Byju's app, so they are going to get a lot of business out of it. So the crisis will help certain sectors, and the crisis will have negative impact on other sectors where physical activities are must. So it's going to hit them. But where physical activity, I believe. Any next question?
Yes, sir. Sir, it's question for director, sir. Like, is it going to this crisis? Is it going to affect the financial inclusion part in India specifically?
It is going to strengthen financial inclusion because a lot of, see, it started with that financial inclusion took strength from the bank accounts that were opened for weakest action, because then the money could directly be transferred to their bank accounts. Earlier, the system was that if 1 rupee was spent by government on weakest action, only 10 to 15 paisa actually reached. That was an acceptance by one of the prime ministers also, that only 14 paisa is reaching poor people. In fact, in reality, it might have been lesser than even 14 paisa. Now that if directly it is being transferred on bank accounts, even if there are people who actually can create problems, at least 90% people will get their money directly in their accounts. So that would ensure that financial inclusion would be far better now, can easily be managed, which was very, very difficult to manage if the payments were to be made or money was to be distributed among people in cash. So that is one part. And second part is Indian economy, if you look at, or Indian workforce, if you look at, about 70%, 65 to 70% of the workforce is in agriculture. Now, that's not being affected by COVID. So one, if you look at the other countries wherein major economic or major revenues come from manufacturing or services, and look at India, wherein about 40% of revenue and total revenue comes from agriculture, Indian economy would naturally be affected negatively, but not as much as the other economies that are more dependent on industry or services. So that's one. The other, the major problem is for the people who are working in unorganized sector, and about 25-30 crore workers before pandemic were working in unorganized sector. Now that's the situation is very bad, very grim for them, because they were not coming under Nareka. They were not covered under Nareka. They were, they have to be separately incentivized, which Government of India tried to do, but then the largesse that was distributed among them cannot continue for a long period of time. So there have to be other ways. They have to be included in Nareka. That's one part, so that they can get some work throughout the year. And industry has to be reopened, that India has already done, so that it cannot remain. We need to learn how to live with Corona. If it stays for a longer period, we need to live with Corona and continue our work normally. And that is what, and with all the precautions that are possible. So I'm sure we are learning to live with Corona, and in short period of time, next 3-4 months, we would see everyone working normally, even if Corona stays. So that's what is my point of view.
Nareka would have to add on something to it.
Please repeat.
Would you like to add on something to it, to the financial?
No, perfect. I do agree with sir.
Okay, sir, I just adding on to it, like if we go to the figures and see, there are less than 2% taxpayers, income taxpayers in the developing nations. So for nations, it becomes difficult to figure out like who belongs to the lesser income group, and whose livelihoods have been taken away. So how they can be included in the social benefit scheme, like how to actually identify who needs the actual support in this pandemic time and whom to actually send money by the government.
Sir wants to answer this question. Dr. Bhaker sir wants to
answer. Okay. Let me try and see how these can be identified. See, the major problem that India faced actually when this COVID struck, and when the work stopped and everything was locked down, was people in unorganized sector getting, losing their job. But then all the records have been created now. The unorganized sector also, all those workers who lost their job, the records have already been created. People who were already there under Nareka, there is already record existing with Government of India. So majorly, the people who actually have no income source now, or had very low income source prior to COVID, now they are already identified. It is not that the government has to identify them afresh. Now the question is how to support them. Government cannot support them endlessly. They can't keep giving money to them as luggage. They have to be absorbed in activities that are productive. And those productive activities, as I said, Nareka could be one of them, but the other activities like industrial activity and service activities have to start. Manufacturing and service activities have to start. Agriculture, as it is running normal. So we have to start that, so that these people can come back and start working normally. So that is the only solution that is existing. And as I said, that once we do that, COVID is it spreads very widely or very quickly. But other than that, if you look at the death rates, they are far lesser than the other diseases that are prevalent in India or elsewhere. So it is not a dangerous pandemic. It is only that a larger number of people are likely to get it. So, but then once we decide that we will have to work and we will have to safeguard ourselves, and if we get it, we get it. That's it. So with that mindset, if we start working, I'm sure everyone who lost their job, had to move away and go back to their native places, can come back and start working properly. And I'm pretty sure in due course of time, everything will be okay. And hope that vaccine would come out sooner, so that that fear also can be eliminated.
Exactly, sir.
Yes.
Yes, sir. So Nareka, one of the participants has asked in the chat box, like, what are the revival initiatives that are needed to be taken for tourism and hotel industry, specifically in India post-COVID?
As far as business model is concerned, they need to rethink about doing different business than tourism and hotel industry. Because I met over here in Vapi with many hoteliers. So they are not getting revenue since last 4 months. Single rupee is not coming into their business. So how can they convert their hotels into hospitals? How can they start doing different business in IT industry? Number two, and how can they collaborate with some pharma company, and how can they start new business, new startup? So they have to change their entire business model. So innovation is required in hotel and tourism industry. Or if they want to continue in the security with social distancing and sanitization, there they have to focus a lot. Or how they can convert it into schools and colleges. Another option is there. So various alternatives are available to modify the business model in tourism and hotel industry. So the quicker they adopt the change in the business, the better would be the future for them. That's why what my answer for hotel and tourism industry.
Well, I differ a bit. Demolishing everything and creating new things is not the right order. In my view, they will have to wait a bit, but then people will start coming. The hotels have to demonstrate that they are COVID-free. Even then, people are not going to come to hotels that quickly. Although the government has already opened hotels now, as far as government is concerned, the hotels can operate normally. It is the people who are not going to the hotels. And major reason is that everyone fears that hotels, because everyone comes to the hotels and they don't follow all the norms that are supposed to be followed to ensure that they are COVID-free. That is the reason why people are not using hotels. I'm pretty sure that when the hotels start demonstrating that they cannot get corona by visiting hotels or by staying in hotels, I'm sure slowly people will start coming. They won't come over it in a day, but over a period of time, they will come, and they will have to wait. If they have waited for 4 months, maybe a couple of more months, by then slowly it is going to, when the business starts running normally, it is still not running normally. Now the government has opened business, but is it running normally? No. Every now and then, any collector can announce that there will be lockdown in this city, there will be lockdown in that city. The supply chains are getting disrupted. The business is not running normally. That is the problem. The executives they don't have to travel, or very few people have to travel. Now, when they start traveling, if the business starts running smoothly, the executives have to travel. There's no way out for them, and they need to find a place where they can stay. And other than hotels, you don't have a place which is safer. I'm telling you that it is, where are they going to stay? So hotels have to prepare themselves so that they can ensure that there will be no infection in their place. And at the same time, the business has to start running smoothly so that people have to travel. And if people have to travel, they will have to stay. The only area that I personally feel would continue to suffer would be tourism. And along with hotels at tourism destinations, they have a serious issue, because for next 6 months, 8 months, nobody is planning to tour. Nobody is a pleasure tour, unless the vaccine comes in and the vaccine is effective. If vaccine is available and it is effective, I'm pretty sure quickly people will start. The pent-up demand for leisure would be reflected in a huge utilization of these services immediately as soon as things become normal. Things can't become normal. Corona is not going to stop just by itself. Or if we think that crowd immunity will develop, now that would develop when 70 to 80% population has already been infected. Now, it's not going to develop that quickly. In some places, it might, because in larger metropolitan cities like Delhi, the antibody tests indicated about 25% infections, 25% people having antibodies. Mumbai also similar figures, now indicating that 25% of the people have had corona at some or the other time. Now that figure, as soon as it crosses 60, maybe we can expect that there will be crowd immunity. But then that figure is too high for India. That means 100 crore plus people should be infected to get to have that crowd immunity. Now that's a very large population. Even if you forget, if you leave the town, if you leave villages aside, that okay, villages are they are free from COVID. I'll tell you, that's not true. Villages have started getting infections, and you cannot leave that population out, right? So crowd immunity is out of question. It is only vaccine that can save.
Absolutely, sir. So one of the participants has asked on YouTube, like, would this COVID-19 pandemic can create long-term impact like economic declination in developing countries than rich countries? Though it has been already answered, but just few lines on this, Naik sir.
See, according to the report of McKinsey, by 2025, China is going to become superpower as far as manufacturing and as far as GDP is concerned. And US would be at number 2 and India will be at number 3. Then Germany and Japan will come. So geopolitical changes will take place in longer durations. The national boundaries will be different, the culture, value system, the trade relationship. Look, earlier, India and US were in opposition of each other. The relationship, trade relationship of India and US was not so good. But nowadays you can see the trade relations of US and India is becoming very closer. But the relationship between China and US is getting spoiled. So geopolitical changes will take place in upcoming times. Now China is trying to hijacking the land of even Nepal and Taiwan also. They want to acquire the land. So the geographical boundaries will be different. The trade war will be different. The income level will be different. And in long run, in coming 5 years, we would be able to see new world order, a different and a transformed world. What we are seeing today, down the 5 years time, the whole world will be different. That's what my answer is.
Okay, sir. So one of the participants has asked in the chat box, like, what are the initiatives that can be taken by the government to enhance the availability of online job opportunities to limit the unemployment part?
Okay, fine. I would like to say something over here.
Yes.
As
Yes,
across the globe, $20 trillion US dollar is going to be invested into IT industry. So a lot of online jobs are there in cyber security, data analytics, machine learning, deep learnings. The only thing is that as an institution, how capable persons we are producing to fulfill the demand of the big data analysis, deep learning, machine learning. All these kind of jobs are going to be created online. And these are the jobs which can be done online. No need to move physically. So institutions are going to play a major role. They should produce qualified people from their institutions. So institutions across India can take it as a challenge, and they can produce machine learning, deep learning, big data analytics from their institutions. And this is the way we can reduce the unemployment in future. That's what I believe strongly. And I did a lot of training on machine learning using Python also. And Dr. Bakar sir is over here as the director of Prestige Institute Gwalior, one of the most prestigious institute in the India. I recommend, sir, that I am ready to take care of the placement of all your students and I'm ready to teach them machine learning using Python and R. I can teach even Tableau and Microsoft Power BI also. And you can invite students across the country, and you can enroll them with your institute, and definitely we can generate good employment out of such courses. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Kavir. But let me handle it slightly differently. This is right that there will be enough jobs in this area. There's no doubt about it. But then, what about people who are not very well educated or who cannot learn? It's not easy to learn, say, artificial intelligence or machine learning. You need to have a basic knowledge, plus your logical reasoning should be right. You should have some mathematical background and so on. There are a lot of things that are prerequisites for learning these. And also, the jobs cannot be, all 100% jobs cannot be there in IT. IT is only a support system. And there will be far larger number of jobs in IT and in these areas that Professor Kayur has talked about. But we're talking in totality, if you look at, this will not constitute more than 10% of the total jobs that are there overall. It might constitute 30%, 40% in well-educated people, among well-educated people. Today, it may be even less than 10% even in well-educated community. But it can go up to 25, 30%, maybe even 40%. People who are well-educated can actually start working on these. But what about people who are not? About 70, 80, in countries like India, 80% people would not fall into this category. They also have to be provided jobs. And they cannot work online. They can, but then that online system has to be pretty simple for them to work on. So one way is that
I think Sir has lost the connection. I'll ask Pooja ma'am. Yes, I'll ask Pooja ma'am to check just once, like in case he's unable to join back. Okay. Meanwhile, Sir is joining back.
Yes, ma'am.
Ma'am, is Sir able to join back?
1 minute, ma'am.
Sure. Sir, I understand we are running out of time, but there are many questions everywhere in the chat box on the YouTube as well. But just one last query I'll come up with. Like what is happening these days is there are many national sentiments which are arising every time. Like since last 70-80 years, we are seeing that national sentiments of people are coming up, like stop made in China, free Tibet, and like that. So how it's going to have effect in these times, in COVID times? I'm not talking in particular about India. I'm talking about all the developing economies where these sentiments are coming up.
I think in upcoming time, all the developing and emerging economies, they are going to rely upon their own products and services, because whatever coming into their country from foreign countries, the trustworthiness is missing, ethics is missing. And at the same time, if they are borrowing stuff like raw materials or any other commodities from the different countries, then they have to pay them. So again, income, national income, GDP is going to hit out of it. Their international debt is going to increase. So I can see a trend where Swadeshi will be the mantra of almost all the countries in future in the developing and emerging regions. So nowadays the focus is deglobalization, or the focus is on vocal from vocal from local and no global. This kind of condition will be upcoming in future, near future.
Okay, so then don't you think that multilateral arrangements and all, they are going to suffer in good deal because of this?
Absolutely, absolutely, it's going to suffer a lot.
Okay. Sir, I'll just take 2 more minutes actually. Just I'm cross-checking whether sir to join back or not.
Yeah, yeah.
Today there's a technical glitch actually. Some internet issues there at our institute side.
Right.
And
Because
sir
of
is
that.
connecting. Sir is connecting.
Okay, okay, ma'am. We are waiting for it.
Yes, ma'am.
So actually, this topic is like we can go on for discussing as long as we are here. Uh,
Mm.
this is very interesting a topic actually.
That is
Please
very nice.
unmute, sir. Yes.
Sir is,
Uh,
yes, yes.
please unmute, sir.
Yes, yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
It was a disruption in internet connection, and I logged out. Anyway, I'm back, and
Yes.
I think it's the questions must have been handled all.
Yeah. So just last input from your side on the question, like are national sentiments everywhere in the emerging economies, are they going to hamper whatever business they are going world over? Not like in Indian context, if we talk about be Indian, buy Indian, then boycott Chinese products, same is going everywhere. So is it going to affect the business everywhere?
See that sentiments apart.
Yes.
Business has to be run on proper, evaluations. Businesses don't run on sentiments. So we will have to evaluate uh, who can provide us. Suppose if we are looking at raw material, who can provide us the best raw material at the reasonable price? Or if we are looking at some components or products, we will have to look at that. Currently, I know the sentiments are there. I'll tell you, situation is slightly bad because of the hawkish stance that has been taken by China, and therefore there is a anti-China sentiment across world. It's not only in India. If it remains, Chinese economy would have a serious negative impact, and in short run, there will be a problem for the other countries in sourcing the equipment in the areas that China dominates. But in longer run, all these capabilities will be, developed, and people will forget that China, they used to get products and components from China. So China also will have to understand that by antagonizing everyone, by creating negative image among everyone, they can't survive. China can't survive alone. China needs raw material from different people. They need market wherein they can sell their products. They also have to understand that these hawkish stances do not work. And today the world is connected. See, it was possible earlier that people would know, the world people will know when you have already taken over a country after, say, a couple of days or a number of days, or maybe even 1 month. Today, when you send one person to another country or to the border, people know that you have sent one person. So it is not possible for any country today to have these hawkish, stance and expect that you will continue doing well. So if China really wants to be dominant economy in the world, wants to be number one economy in the world, they can't do it by doing what they have been doing in last, say, 6-7 months. They have to be far more accommodating if they want to be number one economy. They cannot dominate and become number one economy. So I'm pretty sure they understand it, and they will not do anything to tarnish their own chances of becoming #1 economy in the world. You can't bulldoze other economies and become #1. You can integrate and become #1 economy. You can't, do that. Okay, today's world is 100% integrated. It's not possible for any one economy to ignore every other economy and then think that you'll become #1. So I'm sure China understands that.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. So we will now stop question answer sessions because it is going to be an unending discussion otherwise. And I hope we all had a fruitful discussion today. And now I would like to invite Professor Shefali Chauhan to propose vote of thanks. Shefali, ma'am. Please unmute yourself. Pooja, ma'am, please unmute Shefali, ma'am. Yes, ma'am, please.
Yeah. Thank you, ma'am. A very good afternoon to all the dignitaries, faculty colleagues, and all the participants watching this webinar on Zoom and on YouTube. By this, we have come to the end of this webinar organized under the banner of Finance Club of Prestige Institute of Management, Gwalior. And I feel extremely privileged to propose a vote of thanks. I would like to extend a very special thanks to our honorable speaker for this webinar, Dr. Nayak, Director, Lakshmi Institute of Management, Sarigam, for taking his valuable time from very busy schedule and blessing the occasion with his presence. Thank you, sir. Now I would like to express my gratitude to our Director, Sir, Dr. S.S. Bhaker, for providing us the encouragement and support to organize this webinar. Thank you, sir. Now I would like to thanks to our Head of the Department, Dr. Tarika Singh, for her continuous support and guidance during the whole journey of this webinar. Thank you, ma'am. Next, I would like to thanks to the webinar coordinator, Professor Pooja Jain, for organizing such a wonderful and knowledgeable session for us. Thank you, ma'am. A big thanks to all the attendees who are from different parts of the country for taking out time for this webinar. Next, I would like to thank all the faculty members for joining this session. Thank you, faculty members. Also, I would like to acknowledge my gratitude to all the student volunteers for their continuous contribution in this webinar. As no program can become successful with a single person, so I extend my big thanks to our finance department and Pharma Club for their support and contribution. Now, I would like to request respected director, sir, to kindly allow us to wind up this session.
Sure, please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Nayak, sir, for joining. And thank you, participants.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, ma'am. We can